they set back for a second and say, I can't control what's happening in the world right now, but all I can do is proactively control what's happening in my business, what's happening in my life, what's happening in my goals, in my reachable areas. And that's why they were so successful in this aspect. What's going on, AIM fam? Welcome to another AIM podcast special episode. We are so excited to have you. Doug's back with me again today. We would like to bring you this idea that we've been playing with, this idea that we've been working on, and something we've been living out called prepare for your moment. Every day you go through life and you have a series of choices that you can make. You can choose to sit idly by and just let things happen to you, or you can do what we like to do over at the AIM fam and prepare for your moment. Every single moment that you live and every single thing that you do can be pushing you either closer or farther away from that next goal that you're trying to reach. And that's where we're going to be today. A lot like what we brought in when you talked about unseen hours. If you listen to our JB podcast, he talked about not being overly arrogant with what you got going on in life, but backing up what you know you're capable of doing. And that's exactly what it means to prepare for your moment. Doug, what we got today?
Let's go, Justin. Yeah, this is a great topic. I think the coolest thing about this is just how relatable it is. And you look at the year 2020 and how much it relates to the time we're in right now. Justin, this is a year right now where everybody's been waiting for their moment. Everybody's been waiting for time to get better. Everyone's been waiting for things to change. And the good news is your moment is coming. But you got to work for it now. You can't wait for it to come. You have to work now. And I think that's the concept that we can really dig into today is just how can we put ourselves in a position to be prepared for our moment? Because a lot of times in life, Justin, you're not going to know when your moment is. You're not going to know when your opportunity will arise. But the people that have the right mindset, the people that have ambition in mind every single day and the way that they carry themselves are going to be prepared in their moment when an opportunity presents themselves, and they're going to be able to capitalize, bring value to themselves and the people around them, man. So let's jump into this, man. It's a great topic.
I think you bring in a really interesting aspect, Doug, especially saying that you never really know what's going to happen. You never know when this moment is going to arise in your world, when the next step that you take is going to mean the dream that you want. The next step that you take is going to be that next thing that's going to be accomplished. And that's where so many people get so worked up and so unfocused, I feel like, is they're not constantly looking in their lives for the things that will make them better and the things that will help them reach this goal. For instance, you never know. Jude and I were working at a country club all summer, and we never knew who these people were that we were working for. You didn't know if they were the CEO of Panera Bread, which there was. You didn't know if they were the CEO of some pharmaceutical company. You didn't know where they were, who they were, if they were just visiting from somebody's rental property. You didn't know who you were interacting with. And the thing is, though, we were always ready and willing to work for people and show our best foot forward and just give our best effort every single day because you never knew what those relationships are going to bring to you. And through that, we've made a lot of very beneficial relationships with some, for lack of better words, very powerful people that could benefit us later in life. And not saying we don't know when things like that are going to come to fruition, but just saying that if every single day you're living your life, working towards your goals and dreams, and just putting your best effort forward in whatever aspect you're doing, then that's going to transition you better into that next moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the common theme that I see that jumps out of that application is just consistency. I think people that are consistent in the way that they behave, in the way that they act, in the way they treat people will see that when an opportunity arises, they will be more prepared because consistently over time, they were preparing. There was consistency there. And I think, you treat everyone the same way. You work hard every day. You have ambition in mind every day. That consistency will allow you to be able to capitalize on these moments, man. And I think the next thing I really want to get your take on, or we can kind of, transition this, is too many people, I think, when they're trying to discover or come around to an opportunity, worry about the wrong things. I think a lot of times you find people who are trying to control the uncontrollables. They're trying to control things that are out of their element, out of their reach. And I think if we can talk about this topic of just being able to control the controllables within this bigger idea of preparing for a moment, I think that's something that could bring a lot of value to people listening.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense. There's only so many things in your life that you actually have a say in what's going to happen. And then other than that, spending time and effort in worrying about those things that you can't control are distracting you from what can really be working on right now. A great example of this is when I applied to physical therapy school. You apply months out. You apply months out before you hear anything back. So there's a 3 or 4 month period where you don't know anything. Then you may get an interview call, and then once you get the interview call, you go interview, and then it may be another week, it may be another 2 or 3 months that you spend just waiting, trying to figure out where the next chapter of your life is going to take place. And during that waiting period, there's a couple things you can do. You can sit there and worry about these applications. You can sit there and worry about what's going to happen and what's going to do this and what's going to do that and your future that's going to entail. And there was not a single thing that once I had submitted applications that I could have done to have specifically gotten into anywhere. There was not a single thing I could do until that next stage came upon. And that was not, I noticed it was not worth my time and effort to spend there anxiously worrying and waiting and trying to focus on that. And if I did, it was going to distract me from what I could be doing right then. And honestly, it was one of the most spiritually productive and physically productive times in my life because I just didn't focus on those things, and I just focused on what I was able to do right then and what I was able to control. And that's kind of what I think I'm picking up from what you're saying is if you're focusing on things that you have no control over or that you cannot impact at this time, you're wasting your effort and time that you could be using right now to be moving forward in that positive direction, getting better in an aspect right now, getting better in any sort of area or moving further along.
Absolutely. I love that, man. I think, kind of going off that point and keep just continuing this conversation, bringing as much value as we can to everyone listening. One thing I've seen from really successful people, I like to study people, and I kind of talked about this in our last episode with Frank. One thing I've seen with the people that have been really, really successful from a business standpoint that I know personally is their ability to adapt. And I think, again, this all ties into this concept. And, when there are things that are outside of your control that you're faced with, you have a couple choices. You can deal with them directly, or you can make excuses and not go about it the right way. But a lot of times you're going to have to adapt. And your adaptation in those difficult moments that you can't control are going to help you prepare for your moment. And I'll break it down a little more in depth. You see a lot of times, for example, like with this year with COVID, a lot of things changed. A lot of people's lives have changed, and a lot of ways that people went about life changed. And so what you have to do is adapt. The most successful people found ways to still be successful in the midst of all this adversity. They didn't look at 2020 as a missing opportunity. They found the adversity as an opportunity, and they were prepared for that because they have the right mindset. And I think it all ties together with what we try to do here with AIM, man.
Yeah, and I think it also shows their preparation in the back end of all of those things that they've been doing right for so long. They've been preparing for this moment. They didn't know when this was going to happen. They didn't know when this was going to come. Nobody knew that this was going to be as big of a thing that it is right now, talking about COVID. And that's not us trying to get into any sort of aspect of that, but that's us saying that look at these people and how they were able to take that adversity and then they were able to morph it into success. They were able to morph it into bettering their business, bettering their livelihoods, bettering whatever they're trying to do. And it's because they sat back for a second and said, I can't control what's happening in the world right now, but all I can do is proactively control what's happening in my business, what's happening in my life, what's happening in my goals, in my reachable areas. And that's why they were so successful in this aspect.
100%. 100%, man. It's cool to see people like that you can kind of follow and implement. I mean, even if you look at Ambition of Mind, we've talked about this in several episodes, but just the mere fact of what we were able to create and do with an amazing group of people in a community, we didn't waiting around for our opportunity. Our opportunity presented itself in a very hard time, and we were able to capitalize on it because we had that consistency in everything that we did.
Yeah, and it's on top of that, the work you put in on the back end. And that's a really cool thing is people don't see the failed video ideas. They don't see the failed podcast ideas. They don't see all those other things. But what we're doing is we're trying to move forward in the areas that we can and work in the areas that we are able. I mean, we've been faced with adversity as well, and we've been faced with things not going the way we thought or certain things around that. But what do? We're adaptable. And then we take those things and we're like, how can we become better out of this? How can we then make this into a better thing now? What can we do to better our community? What can we do to better provide resources for the people that are relying on this? And honestly, that's just because some of these things would have never even come if we didn't have these events that kind of put hinders. If it's the old saying, if one door opens, another one, if one door closes, another one's going to open. And if you sit there and stare at that one door that just closed, you're never even going to have the slightest glimpse of the one that just opened. And that opportunity through that open door can be something greater than would have ever come from that now closed door.
So good. That's so good, Justin. I love the way you put that, man. And I think the key here today, at the bottom line of what we're trying to tell you guys is just be encouraged, knowing that your opportunity is coming. Like, don't ever for a second, have disbelief or negativity in your life. Have positivity, have optimism, thinking and knowing that the work you're putting in day to day is going to pay off because your opportunity is coming. And that is a promise from us, from the AIM team. Continue to work, and you're gonna see it come through.
Yeah, man, that's the persistence in that is completely essential, and that idea of staying positive is essential. And not saying everything in your life has to be completely positive, but don't focus on those negativities because they're going to distract you from what could be coming.
Absolutely, Justin, man. You got any other things tonight?
Guys, you never quite know what life's going to throw at you, but if you're always going to be on top of that adaptability and be proactive instead of reactive with your life, then that's how you're going to truly reach that next successful level. Whatever happens. Whatever happened in the past. There's no need to focus on that. If you can then take that, learn from that, and then prepare for the next moment of whenever it's going to come.
So good, brother. I agree, man. That's good stuff.
All right, guys. For Doug, for the AIM team, we hope you guys have a fantastic week. Get after it this week. And remember, stay on top of things, prepare for your moment, and life will bring you success.